Hello, my crafty friends. Well, today I'm going to take this fluff and I'm going to make it into bats on the drum carder. But I want to talk to you a little bit about this before I do it. It started out, the white started out like this. This is just a washed fleece. And this is some of that same fleece that was washed and then dyed. And this is a different fleece that was dyed. All of this came from Tanya. And these are like antique fleeces. No, I'm almost serious. Tanya said she got these and she dyed this when she first got her spinning wheel like 36 years ago. And they've been sitting, I don't know if they were in her garage or in her basement or in the closet or where, but she had a bag of this dyed fiber that's kind of felted. It would be difficult to try to spin like this. And then she had a couple of fleeces that I washed. And I don't know, this may be the exact same fleece. I'm not sure because I washed one fleece. There was just a little bit of it. And I set it aside, and then I washed the other one that there was a lot of. And I kept half of it and gave half of it to Hannah. So this kind of is like my half, okay? Anyway, this fleece had set, one of the fleeces was in the grease. It was in the bag it came to Tanya in, and the other one had been rinsed, but it hadn't actually been washed. And I think this is the one that had been rinsed but not washed because there's so much of it. Anyway, I washed it, and then I dyed this part, and I decided I want to make yarn from this. And I want it blended enough that it makes a cohesive yarn, but I don't want it to turn into a purple yarn. So that's why I'm going to do it on the drum carder. Now you could do it on these, but that would take a long time. And this, and you can blend them, better, easier on a drum carder if you're wanting to do a bunch, and I do, and I want to do it as quickly as possible. So what I did was use the hand cards to turn this into this, so I can put this on the drum card, because you cannot put this on the drum carder. It would ruin the drum carder. It's too felted. It's not felted beyond use, but only because I have these. If I didn't have these, I don't know that I could process this and use it unless I was really desperate. This fiber, on the other hand, can be processed just with your fingers. And that's what I did here and here, is I just picked it with my fingers. And I'm going to put this back in the bag I've got it in for now. And I'm going to show you that process. And then I'm going to hand card the red. And then we'll be ready to use this and this to make some yarn. I spent several hours, actually, a couple of hours this morning doing this. And then I spent several more hours picking the other fibers. So it's not a quick process to work from a fleece, but it's a satisfying process, and it's fun to do all the different parts of it yourself, so you can know you took this fleece and you turned it into something. And if you really like fiber, and this is a lot of fun. It gets tedious after a while because you've done so much of it, but it's still fun to just play with it. Now, it's amazing how after washing the wool, and how much vegetable matter is still in there and how much dirt is still in there after it's been washed. See, it's right here is some dirt that I just got out of that. And you just do it like this. And if you don't have, and you can pull out the big pieces of vegetable matter pretty easy when you're doing this. This part that I dyed blue doesn't have a whole lot of vegetable matter in it. It definitely has some, and it has some dirt still in it, but it doesn't have as much as the white. So I must have taken the prettier locks, out, pulled them out on purpose and dyed them. And I do remember being kind of picky about what I pulled out to use to dye, because I wanted it to dye in, pretty much in lock formation, because I wasn't sure how I was going to spin it. Because I could spin this just like this if I wanted to. It would be a more textured yarn than what I'm wanting. And this is going to be a very textured yarn anyway, because there's not really any way to work with this fleece that's not going to produce something textured, or you're going to throw away like 90% of your fleece, because this is very short. See how short this staple length is? It's very short staple length. Now this particular fleece had staple length that was, some of it was longer and some of it was shorter. See, this is a little longer than that was. And some fleeces are like that. They have in the same fleece, you've got different staple lengths. Now this red, I'm not sure what kind of fleece it was, but it definitely has different crimp structure. This has really got a pretty fine crimp. And this, on the other hand, is, if I can find a piece to even show you, it's kind of hard to tell. I don't want that actually in my dirt, but it's more long and wavy than it is really crimpy. Now you can look at this and you can see that it's, it was felted compared to what these looked like, but the dye job is so beautiful, I want to use it. And if you have hand cards, it's definitely usable. So we don't want to waste it if we can actually do something with it. So let me get this out of the way and put these with the other bags. And I'm going to move this too, just because I don't want to get it messed up or knock it off on the dirty floor. And it is easier to do what I'm fixing to do here in your lap than it is on a table. Now, I'm also putting more stuff on here than I would do if I was trying to make pretty Rolags. If that was my goal, I wouldn't have put this much stuff on the cards. But that's not my goal. My goal is to open this up so I can use it in the hand carder. I mean, in the drum carder. So we're just going to go back and forth a few times. And it takes, a couple of times to even get the stuff to get started opening up. Okay, so we're going to start there. And some people hold these in their hands in the air and do this. This is kind of hard on my hands. My hands are not as strong as they used to be. So I'm putting it down. And on my lap, like I said, it would be easier. And I did that's one reason I didn't, besides not wanting to bore y'all with doing 20 of these or 30 or however many I did, probably 20. I wanted to be able to do it in my lap where it's easier. But what we're doing is we're kind of opening up these fibers. Now, when you're going to make Rolags out of them, you really want to not only open up the fibers, but attenuate them really well. I'm trying to pull off as much of that as I can. But the point is to make them where they go on the drum carder easy. And I don't know how much fiber I messed with today, but I want to make a couple. I'm hoping I have at least 8 ounces. I think I do. And 8 ounces doesn't sound like a lot, but let me get this cleaned up here before I take it off again. This is the messiest little stuff that gets stuck down in there. And I'm not, this is a 36-year-old fleece, and it was, you know, it would just be sitting around doing nothing if I wasn't doing this. So I'm not fretting over trying to get every ounce of yarn out of it I can. I'm just doing what's easy for me to do and make some good yarn. So I have a yarn that's kind of a token, you know, of the fact that Tanya gave this to me. So there's stuff that came out of this. And I'm just going to pull this off. That's what I did with those others. And then I have some fiber I can put in the drum carder. I've also got the messy stuff that stayed on. Okay. Now these things I'm going to put away. And I'm going to pause the video just a second and get my drum carder put up here. Okay. I just divided all those fibers up until I had 2 ounces of the combination. So, which would be like, let me show you how much of this is 2 ounces. Okay. This is 2 ounces. All right. And when I divided all my fiber up, I got 5 2-ounce batches. So I'm going to try to make 5 bats. I may end up splitting them up and making 6 or 7 bats. What I'm wanting to do is make 2 skeins of yarn. I was hoping for 2 4-ounce skeins of yarn, but since I've got about 2 ounces too much, I may make 3 skeins of yarn that are like 3 ounces or a little over 3 ounces instead. I'm not sure, but carding them first in equal amounts is what's important. So what I'm going to do is take an approximately half of this and about half of this, and about half of this, and we're going to put that in one bat, because just as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking 2 ounces is the maximum I can get on there, and this is very springy, and so it won't hold 2 ounces of springy. So each of these 5 amounts I'm going to make into 2 bats. So I'll end up with 10 bats altogether. And so that's what we're going to start out with. And I'm just going to do one of them so you can see it. Oops. Get this out of the way. This is what I'm going to put into my bat. Now I'm going to put the drum carder out there like I said I was last time. Okay. Now the placement of this is kind of delicate, but it's the only place I've got that I can get a camera to. So one thing I want to do is, I think I want to start with this, and I'm just going to put it, see, I found a lot more vegetable matter that I didn't get out before. Every step of the way you find stuff that when you really thought you looked through it good before. And we're going to start just by putting a layer of this down. I'm going to put the natural wool down at the beginning and at the end, some of it, both places, and then put the colors on kind of in between. So we will see. This may end up being I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm just going to go ahead and put all the red. I could do half red and half blue and then go back and do it, some more. But I'm just going to do it this way because we already know we're going to split it and recard it. So. And there's the red. Oh, there's a little bit more. There's a little bit more I missed. Okay, now we're going to put the blue in. I may wish I had done this more striped instead of just on top of each other. But I don't really want this going off the edges, so. And then we'll put some more of the white. I'm wanting it to be mixed up enough it doesn't just look like red, white, and blue yarn. But not so mixed up it becomes purple yarn. All right. Now the first pass through is the most messy looking. It gets better each time. If I can find my oh, there it is down there. Nope. Okay, couldn't find my doffer. And I need it to take this off. Now if I took this off like this and just spun it, I would definitely have some red, white, and blue yarn. But I don't only want it to not just be red, white, and blue. I also want it to be a little bit smoother preparation for spinning. Okay. I'm just going to leave that on there because I'm going to put this right back on. But you can see it's red, white, and blue. So I'm going to split it into thirds. And then I'm going to just stretch it out like this. And we're going to put it back on there and let it. See, it's stretching it out a little bit better now. So it'll be a little bit smoother preparation. Get that piece off there. I think we may have to do it 3 times. I don't think that'll make purple if we do it 3 times. But it's still looking mostly red, white, and blue. Some more vegetable matter. Different fleeces have different amounts of vegetable matter in it, just depending on where they're raised and all of that kind of thing. The red didn't really have very much in it compared to the white, which is not as white right now as it would have been if it had been washed and used 36 years ago. But one reason I wanted to do this was to show people one reason why wool clothing was, passed down from generation to generation was because it was it lasted. And if you got a fleece that's just sat there in a bag for 36 years and you can still make yarn out of it, that shows what cool stuff wool is. Okay, so this is what it looks like now. It's going to be a nice tweedy heathered yarn. It will definitely have some texture. This isn't probably something you'd want to do if you're one of those people who only likes yarn that's, some kind of, something that looks more like it came out of the store, if that's what you want. Of course, now they're making textured yarns that you can buy because people want them, so. When I get all these bats made, and start spinning it. I'll add that into this video. But I got a lot of bats to make before I get to that place. All right, one more piece. I'm kind of excited to get some yarn out of this wool. I hope it looks as nice as I think it will. Okay. It just, that is smoother and smoother each time, which is nice. It also, generally speaking, comes up off of the drum carder better the more times it's carded. I say that and then it decides to stick right there. Okay, well, here's my bat. I think it's going to be pretty. It mixed up just enough that it looks pink and blue and purple, or red and blue and purple. So I like that. So I'm going to make the rest of them, and then we'll spin them. Be back in a little bit. Okay, this is the last little bit of the bat that I'm spinning for this. Well, I guess you can see maybe better if I bring this over here. This this wool yarn that I'm making out of the different fleeces that Tanya brought me. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. We've talked about it in the first part of this thing. It's just days and days go in between, and I forget that we've talked about all that. But anyway, this is the last little bit I have left to spin, and then I'm going to be plying it. And I just thought that that I would, spin the last little bit of it here with you, and then start the plying process. I won't make you watch all of the plying process. It has been fun to spin. There are neppy things, and some of them I take out, and some of them I just leave in. Like that right there, I'm just going to leave it. If it's really kind of fly away or something, I take it out. Or if it's vegetable matter, I try to take it out. But even some of that's made it through, and I'm sure when I'm plying, I'll find some. And then when I wash it, some more will come out. That's just the way spinning works when you're working from a fleece. And even when you're working from a combed top, you find pieces of vegetable matter in there. It's just part of it. And if you've actually knitted or crocheted with wool yarn, even that came from a factory, you'll sometimes find vegetable matter in there. And it seems kind of, weird. You're thinking, why couldn't they get rid of all this? And they try. they do stuff with it that the big mills and the yarn companies, you know, they use some pretty caustic stuff trying to get rid of all that vegetable matter, but you just can't do it 100%. See, there's a piece right there. Anyway, I have learned that it's not a failure in my spinning if I don't get it all out. It's just the nature of the beast. When I was first spinning, I thought, if I don't get every bit of that out of there while I'm spinning it, you know, then I'm not a very good spinner. But I've watched a lot more people spin between then and now, and I realized that, and sometimes you see a piece and you really want to get it out and it doesn't want to come. Move that out of the way so I don't grab it up again. Let me scoot this in just a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. Okay. Anyway, I split my bat into about 10 of these, each bat. And there's this yarn, the final yarn will have about 2.5 5 bats, 2.5 for each ply. So I did not go ahead and do all 10 bats because my arm gets tired of that carding stuff. So I just did enough for one skein of yarn, and then I'll do the other skein of yarn later. I'm not these yarns are not going to be used together anyway. So I'm not worrying about it. The other one I might add some more stuff in. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. But I wanted this one to just be the fibers that Tanya brought me. And I wanted to see, you know, kind of what kind of yarn they would make. And I'm really happy with the way the plies so far have spun up, because I do have the red and the blue and some purple. There's not hardly any of the cream color in there. There's a little bit, not much, because it blends in so well. It just mixes in with the other colors. But it did turn out to not be just purple and not be just red, white, and blue. So I am accomplishing what I set out to accomplish, which is to make yarn out of this very old fleece and to make it something that's that I like the colors of. So as you can see, it takes a little bit of time to spin this. And if I did, you know, 10 of these for each bat, that means I did about 25 of these bits to make each one of these plies. And so if you watch a little while, you can see why spinning hand spun yarn costs so much when you go to Etsy and try to buy it, because there's a lot of work involved. I enjoy the process, so it doesn't really feel that much like work. But if I started selling my yarn, it might feel like work. I need to start using it. It's what I need to do. I need to start using it. And I have some ideas. I have a hat that I'm just barely started on, that I'm crocheting for Darren out of some of my hand spun yarn, and it'll be the first thing that that I've done out of hand spun yarn, besides just a few coasters way back when. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm doing it by watching a tutorial, so I'm crocheting along with the tutorial. So it's not something that, at least until I get further along in the hat, I can't show you, you know, how I'm doing it. But maybe after I've done, you know, when I get to a place where you're just doing repeats of the exact same thing, then maybe I can do some of that on a video and show you some of it. But for now, I'm just doing it along with the tutorial in the evenings, and not even necessarily, you know, every night or anything. Just, in fact, it's probably been a week since I picked it up, maybe longer. And after I spin this and ply it, then I'll measure it, and I'll wash it and measure it again. So when I show you the final skein, I can tell you the difference in yardage that I get from the yarn before it's finished and after it's finished. The washing process is called finishing. That piece was fighting me. I've got thicker bits in there, and I'm okay with that. I don't try to make everything perfectly uniform. Oops. It's amazing how uniform the yarn tends to look, even when you've got the thicker and thinner spots. And part of that's because those thicker and thinner spots are not going to be in the same places on each ply. So, you know, you will have some places where it's two thick bits or two really thin bits, and then the yarn will look, you know, more thick and thin, but for the most part, it kind of evens itself out as you ply it. And a 3-ply would make it even more evened out. But I'm just doing a 2-ply. And I don't know if it's that I really like 2-ply yarn better, or if I just am ready to move on to the next thing and I don't want to do 3 plies. And some of them you won't get much yardage if you do a 3-ply, because some of the things I've got aren't, there's not that much fiber. Like 4 ounces of fiber, you'll get a lot less yardage out of 4 ounces of fiber if you do a 3-ply than you do if you do a 2-ply. And of course, unless you're, depending on what you're doing with it, you'll end up with it probably making, you know, a different, it might not make a much different piece of fabric than it would have in a 3-ply, because the 2-ply doesn't take up as much space. And so let me get some of this off of here before I start plying. Now what I do now is just take this and we're going to take it off of here. It's pretty easy to do. And we're going to put a new one on that is, so we can put our plied yarn on here. Move that back where it was. And I'll put this back on here. Put this on. Tighten it back up. And then we will put this back up here and put it over the pulley down there. So changing bobbins is really easy on this little e-spinner. I really like it. Now I don't know if this was, I think this was used to ply last time. I need to switch from Z twist to S twist, and we'll find out here real quick. Yeah, okay. So I don't have to worry about that. Sometimes if you spun the bobbin last time instead of plied on it last time, then you end up with having, come on, there we go, having to change the twist that's in the built up in there in your leader, because you don't want to have the reverse kind of twist in this than what you're wanting to put into it as you ply it. And so because that would take all the twist out of your yarn. Now we're going to take these two. Some people don't ply their stuff right away. They let those singles rest. And I think that's completely up to your preference. I do it both ways. So if I have time, I let the singles rest. If I'm wanting to get things done, then I don't necessarily do that. And this is how I apply. I just leave the machine pretty much set up the way it was, and I do a 1, 2, 3 pull, 1, 2, 3 pull, and that's how I apply. And I just keep going until it gets and that's backwards. No wonder I keep having to hit it twice. I do need to move this arm a little bit so that it builds up evenly on my bobbin. When I get more stuff on the bobbin, then I will show you what it looks like on the bobbin. I'm not going to do the whole thing, of course. That would take too long, but you don't want to watch an hour of this. But the plying goes much faster than the spinning, which is nice. It gives you a little bit more instant gratification in the ply process. Although it still, takes a while. But once I get the bobbin built up where you can actually see what the yarn's going to look like, that's when it starts really being, I was going to say that's when it starts being fun, but that's not true. The whole thing's fun. But that's when you start seeing what your end result is going to be. Although that's not the end result, because when you finish the yarn, you've stretched out all these fibers to spin them, and then when you wash it, they will go back, retain their elasticity a little bit, and they will end up being it'll end up being a little shorter. It'll shrink a little bit, but it's not because the wool is necessarily shrinking. It's because the elasticity is getting put back in it, where you kind of worked it out when you were spinning it. And it's going to have some, it's definitely going to have some places that are, bumpier than other places, but so far I'm really liking the yarn. And you can't see it as good, I know, because it's you're up higher, but I'm going to show you in a minute. This is plying is really one of those things that's easy to do without thinking, and you can move on to, you can watch it. Of course, I watch TV when I spin too, but you can, with this e-spinner, I can watch TV and spin. I couldn't do it as good when I was spinning on a spinning wheel, because I had to concentrate more because my feet didn't want to stay in rhythm with my hands, and I would end up with my feet going faster and faster, and I didn't really need to. Getting the right rhythm takes a lot of practice to get your hands and feet to move in a rhythm that becomes natural and it stays the same. And so it doesn't, sometimes it takes a long time. And if you spend a lot of time in between spinning sessions, sometimes it takes a little bit to come back to you. And all those years I spent not spinning and weaving because of my back and knees and hips and everything. Then when I started up again using this little e-spinner, it came back so much faster than when I had left, a year or two in between my spinning on the wheel, because I didn't have to retrain my feet to try to match my hands, or my hands to try to match my feet. So if you've ever wanted to spin but you just don't think you can coordinate all of that, there's only about half as much to coordinate if you use an e-spinner. So that's something to think about. Oh, okay, see this? I'm not sure that I can take that back enough. Okay, I did. Let's just do it. Okay. Yeah, I got that out. I got that little piggy tail out. That makes me feel good, because it doesn't always work. Sometimes it's too late to go back and fix it without it being a lot of work. So I just leave it that way. It's kind of, I figure that's kind of like when you buy yarn and it's got knots in it. That little piggy tail could just be treated like a knot in the yarn. And I do end up sometimes with knots in my hand spun yarn too, because one ply, well, there's a spot that maybe is too thin or something and it'll break. But I remember how irritated I was when I would buy yarn and it would, there's another one. Okay. Well, you're getting to see this really doesn't happen to me as often as it is today. Okay, it's so, that's so fine right there that it's not wanting to, that whole bit of yarn doesn't look as good as the rest. We'll see if it'll even out when I wash it. Sometimes that kind of thing will even out when you wash it, but not always. Sometimes it's just there, and that's just the way it is. When you don't let your singles rest, you do tend to have a little bit more of this. You have to pay a little bit better attention to keeping this taut. And some fibers, I mean, sometimes you just spin it. This is spun a little bit tighter maybe than I do sometimes, because I've been trying to not have loosey-goosey underspun yarn when I get finished, and so I'm still learning. That's one thing about it. You can always learn more and get better no matter how long you've been spinning. course, the amount of years that I've been spinning does not equate to the amount of time I've spent spinning, because there was quite a few years in there where I just didn't spin, or I only spun at demonstrations or something, and I didn't spin, you know, on a daily basis or even close to that. Now I spin almost every day, and that it's such a blessing to be able to do that. It really is. I'm really enjoying it. In some ways, plying is more satisfying than spinning, because you can see what the yarn's really going to be like. But in other ways, it's not as satisfying, because there's something really cool about taking the fluff and making it into yarn. The whole process from start to finish is a very satisfying process. I guess everybody may have their 5 favorite parts, and I'm trying to decide what my favorite part might be. I really love fiber prep, and a lot of people don't. They want to buy their stuff prepped so they don't have to worry about that. What they like is the spinning. And other people enjoy spinning okay, but what they really like is the knitting with something they've spun. So everybody has different, you know, different parts of it that are the most important or the most enjoyable for them. Right now, I'm hard pressed to tell you what my favorite part is or what my least favorite part is. And I even enjoy, you know, different kinds of fibers, even when I don't know for sure what I'm going to do with those fibers. I just like getting it, you know, from a sheep. And I guess that's, if I had a favorite thing about spinning, it would be the fact that you can take fiber, you know, sheared right off the sheep, and then you can take it all the way from that to a knitted or crocheted or woven piece of fabric or project, and you can do it all yourself. You really can. And that, I find that whole you know, fleece to fabric thing fascinating. And we forget, you know, when we just go to the store and buy anything we want, we forget how much effort in days gone by was put into things like this. You know, we don't spend as much time cooking as they used to. We don't spend as much time probably even doing laundry. I mean, definitely not. You know, how many of us use a washboard and go out and we don't want to go back. You know, we don't want to go back to using a washboard. But and I don't think I would want to go back to having to make every piece of clothing I owned from a fleece, because then it would be work. It wouldn't be, you know, a hobby. But I do enjoy the hobby. Okay. Just a little bit more, and then this bobbin will be at least all the way across. It won't be full. I got a lot to go before I get it finished, but I at least want it all the way across before I show it to you. This is, for the most part, for me, at least a 2-ply. This is the easiest part of spinning, is plying it. If you don't have enough bobbins, you know, and you have to ply from a center pull ball or something, then that's a little bit trickier. And I've done it, but I prefer plying from 2 bobbins or 3 bobbins, as the case may be. Okay. Now then, I'm going to bring this over here so you can see it better. Let's put a clip right there. Okay, and I'm going to see if I can zoom in. If I can't zoom in, then I will bring the camera closer. Let me put it on autofocus so it will focus. Well, it was pretty focused. Anyway, this is what the yarn looks like. It looks grayer and less blue on the camera. But I like that tweed heathered kind of look where the colors are not really distinct from each other, but they're still noticeable. I don't know if I can get it where you can really see it. But that's what it looks like. And when I get it in a skein, then I will come back and I'll show you that. Well, here's the final yarn that I made out of Tanya's fleece. And I've washed it. And the skein was 72 inches long when before I washed it, and then it was 68 inches long after I washed it, so it lost 4 inches for every wrap, which means we went from 414 yards to 391 yards just by washing the yarn. And it weighs a little over 4 ounces, about 4.37 ounces. So you can't really see the colors quite that great. Just bring it up here and see if the camera will focus on it. Come on. Well, that's frustrating. Anyway, it's got reds and blues and some purple. It's very heathered. I like it. I think it's pretty. It is, for a lot of people, it would not be next to Skin Soft, but it's not. It has, a little bit of prickle factor if you put it right up against your neck. But it's a nice yarn. I think it turned out well, especially considering it's the lifespan it's had. Oh, anyway, it was fun. And thank you, Tanya, for bringing me this fleece and letting me have the joy of making this yarn with it. And I hope you all have enjoyed this video. God bless you. Bye-bye.